do permit parking for residents and not have other sites for parking. So they have to go hand in hand. It won't work if they don't go hand in hand. Okay, so we've looked at some, okay, I'm going to stop. Any questions so far? Concerns? Yeah.
Councilor Bunsen.
Thank you. Through you to the planner. This is an interesting suggestion, but I have a question. Is there a specific number of passes that each property or residence would be limited to? And are we talking free parking, or are we going to charge people that have a property that abuts street center or Woodward or whatever? Would we charge them for an on-street pass if it's over and above free allocation?
Through you, Mayor Weaver. I don't think we've quite gotten to that point. That's an administrative component of the parking strategy. I think what we want to do is, first of all, develop a strategy. Council's in favor of trying to limit the number of on-street parking for beach users in our residential neighborhoods. Then we could come back with some suggestions for council on whether these are paid permits, how many each property owner would get, how they're going to be monitored, all of those things. That's, I would say, an administrative side of this discussion. So we need the strategy and where we're going, and staff will develop some administrative parts to that puzzle for council. Okay, so we have looked in Grand Bend for some options for new parking related areas for tourism and beach users. And the first option, and these are in no particular order, the first option we had was our municipal complex right at the Four Corners in Grand Bend. Certainly very strategic to support the businesses on Main Street West and on 81 Crescent and on Ontario Street, because it's right in the mix of things. Of course, there are a number of municipal functions there that would have to be looked at and moved, because we have a fire hall, we have a works garage, we have a ball diamond, we have a skate park, we have our municipal office. So it's a large undertaking, but I think as we see Grand Bend develop, we are going to have to start thinking about the services we provide in Grand Bend and the possibility of building new outside of this core busy area, so they're more accessible to the permanent residents of Grand Bend without having to navigate every day that corner. So certainly if council wants us to explore this option, we will come back with some more details on the cost of relocating the service, phasing of that relocation, and then the potential number of parking spaces that could be achieved here. But certainly, this is a good location for parking related to tourism. The second option, of course, we already have a parking lot on Ontario Street South between River Road and Lake Road. One of the options is acquiring some property from the properties that front on Orchard Street, because they are quite deep, and expanding that parking lot. And again, this is a good location for tourist-related parking. It would generate pedestrian activity up to Main Street West and River Road, and direct traffic through our business areas to the beach. Third option we looked at is a piece of property just south of the Rona store, south of Lake Road. Certainly this site would service the South Beach and potentially could service boat trailer parking options for the River Road concerns that we'll talk about in a little bit. Certainly if this was used for beach user parking for the main beach, we may have to run a shuttle service from here. It is quite a walk. It's up to the main beach.
Councilor Cook.
Patty, would you know right now the other lot that's on Ontario Street now, the main one, is it being used? Is it fully utilized quite often? Like, I'm just, every time I drive by, it never seems to be 100% in use. Is that an area that should be looked at more, making those accessible and directing people more towards that particular area?
I think that's part of the struggle in Grand Bend is people don't know when the other lots are full, so they go to the other lots. So certainly I think, again, that's part of the administrative things we would talk about after we do a strategy. We'd say, okay, now this is where we want our parking. How are we going to ensure by signage that people know it's here and we can direct them here when the lots at Main Beach are full? Yeah, so I think it's again, an administrative strategy on how we're going to direct people when they come to our community.
Councillor Underwood.
Yeah, so at this point, we're looking at the play, or if we do the residential parking, we've got to find spots for a minimum to break even 480 spots. We've got 500 and something needed right now, so we're looking for parking lot space approximately what we already have needed now. You know what I mean, throughout the town, that's what we, just to break even.
Right, we eliminate the parking in the residential neighborhoods. Now, we might eliminate some, all, there might be locations right adjacent to the commercial area that we can keep, but yes, that's an estimate, 480. So yes, I mean, we have to replace what we're going to remove, and probably we need to add more for those really busy weekends in Grand Bend. Option 4 is off Ontario Street North. And it again is a considerable distance from Main Beach and may require a shuttle service. But certainly there is some opportunity there for parking. The next option actually is in South Huron, and it's looks like an abandoned boat storage area just on the edge of our community with South Huron. Again, a shuttle would be required from there. It's a considerable walking distance. It probably won't result in people walking down Main Street West and won't generate the business, but it certainly is an option maybe in the short term. And finally, we have some lands that are developing on Main Street East, the Pateo lands and the Rice lands, which certainly could be looked at for parking purposes, but also could be looked at for the relocation of the services that we have on Municipal Drive if we decide that that's an option for parking. So those were the options that we came up with that were in close proximity to the beaches and our main commercial area in Grand Bend. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Any questions on any of that?
Councillor McGuire.
Through you, planner. Patty, what about Wondergrove developments? I know they're kind of stalled out. Were there any thoughts of maybe approaching them up Kitchener Ave?
We certainly could approach them. They haven't developed Kitchener Ave. I think at one point the owners of that property did come forward with a proposal for council, and it was quite costly to obtain the land and improve it, but certainly we could go back and look at that option.
Deputy Mayor Dec.
Yes, through you too, planner. Just wondering, do I recall correctly that Mr. Pateo mentioned that he might consider having an area for parking within his developed lands, the block lands?
I don't recall if Mr. Pateo said that. Certainly it could be a temporary parking area if we need it. We would have to talk to him.
Right.
Just like we would have to talk to Rice about purchasing or using part of the lands.
Just a quick follow-up. As well, as I understand this issue, it really is 4 weekends in the year that we have the issue of this overflowing parking. And between those long weekends, it doesn't, I mean, there seems to be a reasonable amount of parking available. So just wondering whether, I guess I'm speaking of, as I think, is whether there's a necessity to purchase and invest a lot of money into property as opposed to working on an arrangement, perhaps, with one of these developers for short-term parking or shuttle service that's perhaps driven by a university student for that short period of time, and perhaps subsidized by the the student works program, which the upper tiers provide as well. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about that, if you've given that consideration before.
Well, certainly we're